Hello everyone, I am Rajakumar Goduru, Assistant Professor of English, NIT Warangal. I welcome you all for today's lesson, Write Words. Learning words is very important in a new language. Don't you think so? Well, how many of you make attempts to learn new words every day? When you come across them in reading newspapers, in a lesson or a text or a textbook. Do you really make attempts to learn new words when you come across them? Well, you know it better. Well, let's move into the lesson on write words. Are you ready? Great. Vocabulary is a core component of language proficiency, and it provides a basis for understanding how well we listen, speak, read, and write. Without an extensive vocabulary and strategies for learning them, techniques for learning new words, it's very difficult and there is possibility of less achieving academic success. Further, lack of proficiency in vocabulary also hampers number of opportunities that are available around us. For example, when we are listening to radio, we won't be able to understand. Well, if we don't have a good number of words with us, when we read newspaper, we won't be able to understand. Similarly, when we are watching television, most of us are very interested in watching sports channels, other English movies, etc. But if we lack a right number of words, a good number of words or vocabulary, we won't be able to grasp it, we won't be able to understand them. Therefore, research on vocabulary also says there are levels of vocabulary, and it's very crucial for people or for students to understand in order to make sense of what we read, what we listen, what we write, and what we speak. Therefore, vocabulary plays a crucial role in our communication. Well, when we are talking about learning new words, there are a number of aspects of word knowledge. For example, when we are learning one word, we most of us think that it's just learning a meaning, spelling, and pronunciation. That is not alone. Learning word means there are a number of aspects to learn. For example, these are called aspects of vocabulary knowledge. And learning words is not a day's task, especially in English, because we know that words are being added to language day by day. Do you know this fact? Yes. Words in English are being added day by day. Therefore, it's very crucial to learn new words. So, when we're talking about vocabulary knowledge, what are they? How many are there? Let's look at them. Vocabulary knowledge means, say that there are 8 aspects of vocabulary knowledge. The first one is meaning of a word. The second one is the written form of the word, that is spelling. The third one is a spoken form of the word, that is pronunciation, how we pronounce. The fourth one is grammatical aspects or grammatical behavior of the word. The fifth one is the collocations of the word. The sixth one is the register of the word. The seventh one is the associations of the word. And finally, the eighth one is the frequency of the word, how frequently a word occurs. There are certain words which we encounter frequently. There are certain words which we encounter less frequently. Therefore, it's good for us to focus on frequently occurring words rather than less frequently occurring words. So, these are the 8 aspects of vocabulary knowledge which we have to learn when we are learning a new word. But unfortunately, most of us are not aware of this fact. We think that learning a word means just learning meaning, spelling, and pronunciation. And when we encounter the same word in a different context, differently, with a different knowledge, then we fail to make sense of it. Therefore, it is very crucial to learn all these 8 aspects of word knowledge, because they are all related. They don't stand apart. They all stand together because they are all related. Therefore, learning these aspects of word knowledge doesn't mean that in a one day we learn them. Just we sit down and then learn all the aspects of the word. It doesn't happen. Learning all these aspects happens gradually, day by day, over a period of time. Okay? I hope these aspects of the word knowledge is clear to you. Good. Let's look into the objectives of the lesson. By the end of the lesson, we will come to know the importance of new words in communication. We will be able to use words in oral and written communication. We will make efforts to employ new ways of learning new words. We will be able to recognize synonyms, antonyms, homonyms, and others in a language. We will be able to use a dictionary for learning new or unknown words. We'll keep a good memory of words learned over a period of time. So these are the objectives of today's lesson. Now let's look into the summary. The lesson will deal with the following. What do we mean by the right words? Synonyms, antonyms, homonyms, one-word substitutes. We will look into each one of these in details. Guidelines for learning to use words correctly. Few hints on using dictionaries. What do we mean by right words? Words are important elements in oral and written communication. As we have just learnt different aspects of word knowledge, words are important elements of oral and written communication. They enable us to receive knowledge and information from sources around us. They make us re-examine what we know and help us communicate to others our beliefs, our opinions, our sentiments, and experiences. Our choice of words determines the ideas we receive, how we think, and the accuracy with which we communicate these thoughts and feelings. In oral communication, meanings are affected by the way we say the words, by the tone of a voice, by our body movements. So these are 3 important things. Yet, the words must mean the same thing to the listener that they do to the speaker, if we want to achieve effective and accurate communication. Failure to understand this may result in communication breakdown. What I mean to say is that the speaker uses a word and he means something, he conveys something, and on the other hand, the listener understands it differently from the speaker, which means there is a confusion. So there is a misunderstanding, and therefore the communication breaks down. So what the speaker conveys should reach the listener in the same way. Then there is a sort of understanding, there is a meaning comprehension, and the purpose is achieved. Now, choosing the right words is very crucial at this point of time. Good writers and speakers choose the most specific and concrete words in order to get their meaning across, in order to convey their ideas across effectively and clearly, because they know that general or vague language can lead to misunderstanding, misinterpretation, or even befuddlement on the part of their readers or listeners. Okay? Therefore, using a right and accurate and concrete words when we communicate is very crucial. Therefore, in order to communicate our message, we need to choose the right words that are clearly, that clearly express our thoughts. Often, very often, in both formal conversation and public speaking, we make statements that are not very clear. I'll give you two examples. One is unclear statement, another one is a clear statement. The unclear statement is, let's go to a place where they sell those things we need for the office. The same thing, clearly we can say, the clear statement is, let's go to the bookstore that sells books and school supplies. In the first sentence, let's go to a place. Which place? It's vague. And also, they sell those things. Which things? It's also vague. See, in the second sentence, the two things come very clearly. The first one is, let's go to the bookstore. Let's go to the supermarket. Let's go to the park. Let's go to a shop. So, it must be specific. And in the second thing, that sells books and school supplies. There is no vagueness here. There is no ambiguity here. Therefore, using a concrete and specific words avoids gives us clarity. Okay, therefore, very important. Here, let's look into synonyms, antonyms, homonyms, and one-word substitutions. The first one is synonyms. Synonyms are words that have almost the same meaning. In other words, synonyms are different words with almost identical or similar meanings. Appropriate use of synonyms adds flavor and newness to our communication. Let's look at synonyms for the word big. What are the synonyms? If you say big, it could be large, huge, gigantic. Most of us are always use it saying big, big, big. For everything we say big. When we look at the mountain, we say big mountain. When we look at the big tree, we can say big tree. We can also use it's a large tree, a large mountain, a huge tree, a gigantic mountain. So, when we use synonyms like this, we add flavor, we add color to language. Let's do a small task now. Circle the two synonyms for each set of the words. The first one is tasty, chilly, cool, comfortable. Now, can you find two synonyms here? Chilly, cool. Second one, walk, crawl, stroll, run. Can you find two synonyms here? The answer is walk, stroll. The third one is argue, scare, confuse, frighten. Answer is scare, frighten. The fourth one is bravery, honesty, courage, winner. Bravery, courage are answers. The fifth one is cook, drink, eat, munch. Eat, munch are the synonyms. Sixth one is record, paint, draw, sketch. Draw, sketch are synonyms. Write a synonym for each word. Answers can vary. Sample answers are given below. Can you provide synonyms for the words thin, tiny, store, fall, see, friendly, tasty, silent, smelly, smile, think, break? So, these are the words. Can you provide some examples? Okay, good. Now, let's look into antonyms. Number 2, antonyms. Antonyms are words with opposite or nearly opposite meanings. For example, hot, antonym cold. Up, antonym down. Antonyms play a very important role in spoken English. The savvy speaker can use them in order to create the desired emotion and sentiment in the audience. Antonyms provide an effective means with which we can add humor to discourse. So antonyms, when we use antonyms effectively in our communication, we can bring in some flavor, we can also add some humor to our discourse. And that's very important. And antonyms can be found in the wit and wisdom of many humorists, and contrasting two words is a great way to create humor with impact. Okay? Therefore, a proper understanding of the usage of antonyms in speaking is an essential component of enlarging one's vocabulary. The more and more antonyms we learn, it's good for us to enlarge our vocabulary. Okay? Good. Now let's do a small task under this. I'll give you 5 words to which you have to provide antonyms. Are you ready? Good. The first one is attach. The second one is awake. The third one is live. The fourth one is cry, and the fifth one is sad. I'll give you the answers right away. Attach, the antonym is detach. Awake, asleep. Live, die. Cry, laugh. Sad, happy. So these are antonyms. Then we come to the third important thing is homonyms. The word homonym comes from Greek meaning same name and applies to many pair or group of words that sound the same but have a different meanings. Most commonly, these words are also spelled differently. When we use homonyms, sometimes we are confused because they look same, they sound same sometimes, but spell differently. Therefore, most of us get confused when we are using them. Hence, a sound knowledge of context is required to use homonyms correctly. So, when they look same, when they sound same, so it's likely to go wrong. It's easy for us to get confused, and therefore the context helps us to understand which word fits better or the best. So therefore context you must keep in mind. All right. So some of the commonly misused homonyms are sail, sale. Here I want you to observe sale, S-A-L-E. Another one is S-A-I-L. These are two different words. The pronunciation is same, but the spelling is different. S-A-L-E. Half price sale, for example. When you walk into a clothes shop, you say sale. And S-A-I-L, to sail a boat. Okay, you go for a picnic and you are in the boat and we sail a boat, right? So the meaning is different. These are two different words, but the spelling is different, but the pronunciation is same. So here there is a great possibility of getting confused. And another example I can give you is a pale, P-A-I-L, P-A-L-E. Again, these are two different words, but pronunciation is same, okay, and meaning is different, and the spelling is different. P-A-I-L, which means to collect water in, and P-A-L-E means to have no color. These are two different words. Next one is fair, F-A-I-R, and again F-A-R-E, fair. These are two different words, but the pronunciation is same, different spelling. Because it is pronounced similarly, one and the same, we get confused. In the first place, F-A-I-R, fair means to be just, to be right. This is not fair for you. This is not fair to do like that. Fair, to be just. And F-A-R-E, fair means to fee, a fare to be paid. Suppose you get in an auto and you just reach your destination, you say you fare, F-A-R-E, fare. And other two examples can be bark. One is the sound of a dog that makes, another one is the same spelling and the same pronunciation but different meanings. Bark, the outer layer of a tree trunk, bark. Next one is one, O-N-E, this is the number. One again, W-O-N, the past form of win, won, having been victorious. So now, although sometimes the spelling remains the same, okay. For instance, fair, F-A-I-R, it can mean to be just, or it also can mean to be pale of skin. Okay. For example, you take fair, F-A-I-R, the same word can, the same word, same spelling, same pronunciation, but two different meanings. Well, homonyms are important in writing and are crucial in writing a story, because with just one word we can completely change the meaning of a sentence. Suppose when we are writing a story, we just replacing one word with the other, we can completely change the meaning of the sentence. In that sense, we can bring in huge difference, huge meaning, a huge contrast to the meaning. Okay, I'll give you one small example here. Okay, listen carefully. Tom wasn't sure, but in the end, it proved to be the right route to take. R-O-O-T here. In the second sentence, Tom wasn't sure, but in the end, it proved the right route to take. R-O-U-T-E. In the first sentence, it was R-O-O-T. In the second sentence, it is R-O-U-T-E. The pronunciation is same, two different spellings, two different words with two different meanings. By just replacing R-O-O-T with R-O-U-T-E, we bring in a huge difference, a huge change of meaning. Okay. Now let's see. In the first sentence suggests that Tom didn't poison himself because he chose the right root vegetable to take for his supper. In the second sentence, it suggests that Tom didn't get lost because it was the right route home. You see the difference now? It's such a huge difference. Therefore, we must be very careful when we use homonyms. Well, now how can we come across, how can we avoid using the wrong homonyms then? When we say it's very difficult, when we say it is very confusing, we should avoid using wrong homonyms. How do we do that? Okay, now the very best way to avoid mixing our homonyms, usage of homonyms, is to use the thesaurus. It's very important. A good thesaurus will help us to find what are the homonyms and their meanings. Okay, so use a good thesaurus, highlight the word and hit the shift key and F7 at the same time. If you're using MS Word, for example, when you're typing something, when you're writing a story and typing something, if you're not very sure of a particular word, okay, and then you can use this. Highlight the word and hit the shift key and F7 at the same time. That will give you a list of options, list of words. And from there you can choose. And try and become aware of the ones you consistently get wrong. Okay, is a focus. Double check when homonyms come up in your writing and get your final work proofread. All right, these are the few things to avoid using wrong homonyms. I hope you will do well. Well, now let's look into the fourth words, one-word substitutes. Word substitution is basically to switch or to change a phrase to only one word. There is a phrase of words. Words sometimes occur in a phrase. For example, idioms and phrasal verbs. So instead of using a large phrase, we can substitute this entire phrase with one single word for effective communication. Okay, so it's like changing a phrase to only one word. By substituting a word, we can make a shorter and more precise sentence. Why do we substitute a large phrase with a single word? To make it a shorter and for more precise sentence. For example, look at this example. She read the sentence over and over again. Here the phrase is over and over again. Okay? The phrase over and over again can be substituted with one word, that is repeatedly. Just with one single word, repeatedly. Well, now the sentence reads like this. The shorter sentence is, she read the sentence repeatedly. Here we avoided using over and over again, that big phrase, that large phrase. We have just substituted this large phrase with one single word repeatedly. Then the sentence looks very accurate, very short and precise. Well, this technique can be used with students of all levels and works best with concepts and ideas that can't easily be seen, touched, like abstracts or anything that is not real. Okay, there are different ways to use substitution. Okay, well, let's look into some of the examples. Synonyms. Look at these examples. Let's substitute synonyms. When you call someone, do you sometimes have to wait? You have to hold. Wait can be substituted with hold. Okay, here word to word substitution. Do trains usually run on time? On time is a phrase. Now let's replace it with another phrase. They are on schedule. On schedule. Now let's look at antonyms. Let's substitute antonyms. Is Ferrari a cheap car? No, it's an expensive car. Okay, cheap is replaced with expensive. Okay, so we are substituting one word with the other. Substitution works very well with phrasal verbs, which usually have a one word equivalent. Let's look at an example now. Do you put off going to the dentist? You postpone seeing your dentist. Put off is a phrasal verb. We substitute put off with postpone. Okay, so substitution works very well with phrasal verbs. Good. However, one should be very careful when using words that are not exact synonyms or antonyms. Now, the above two examples that we have seen is replacing or substituting antonyms and synonyms. But when there are no exact synonyms, we have to be very careful. Let's look at some of the examples. Egoist, a person who is selfish, self-absorbed and self-centered. Okay, so when you want to give a definition, this entire definition can be substituted with one single word, egoist. So also epitaph, inscription on a tombstone. Fatalist, one who believes in the philosophical doctrine of fatalism. Atheist, a person who does not believe in God or deities. Amphibian, a land animal that breathes in water. Autobiography, an account of somebody's life written by that person. Biography, an account of somebody's life written by another person. Cannibal, somebody who eats human flesh. Omnivorous, an animal or a human being that eats any kind of food. Illiterate, a person who cannot read or write. Inflammable, something that is quickly and easily set on fire and burnt. So these are some of the one-word substitutions that can be that we can use in our communication. Let's do a small task now. Give one word substitutes for the following. An unmarried woman is called. A person who sells fish is called. A person who writes a play is called. A person who lives in a rented building is called. A place where birds are kept is called. A place where monks live is called. I'll give away the answers right away. The first one is spinster. Second one is fishmonger, a playwright, tenant, aviary, and monastery. These are the answers. Have you got them right?